Introducing a stallion as top class as they come. In 22 career starts, he won or placed in 12 graded stakes, competing in 15 grade ones, earning over $1.7 million. His undisputed speed is evidenced by 7 100-plus buyer speed figures, a 3-time Grade 1 winner, Raging Bull.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, Kentucky Derby qualifying points on the line at Aqueduct on Saturday. Race number 8 is the Grade 3, $250,000 Withers Stakes. These 3-year-olds going a demanding 1 1/8 miles. As we take a look at the field, I want to remind everybody that our Derby prep coverage this spring is presented by our friends at Gainesway. Gainesway stands the superstar stallion Tappet, who is the sire of the number 5, Courvoisier. 9-2 on David Aragona's morning line for the Withers. Mike, this is an evenly matched group. You've got Constitution Lawyer stepping up out of the maiden ranks off a gate-to-wire performance with a good buyer. You've got Early Voting, a son of Gunrunner, stepping up out of the maiden ranks after a debut victory. And you've got a couple of other horses that are still trying to find their way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought there were, a few different ways to go in here. You do have those two shorter prices on the morning line that you mentioned. And I think both of those horses make sense in here, Dan. They both have a lot of upside. I mean, Constitution Lawyer just broke his maiden over this distance in his most recent start, and he earned a little bit of a standout figure doing it.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. Constitution Lawyer did so on the lead. Timeform US believes this pace might be a little bit too hot for him. They have him 4th after the first half mile. Early Voting, the 9, the gate-to-wire debut winner for Brown, can show speed. The number 5, Courvoisier, has speed. Grantham is tactical. I don't know. I think Jose Lezcano's got to at least try to use Constitution Lawyer a little bit getting out of there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. We'll see how they decide to play it. He didn't really show that much speed, Constitution Lawyer, in his first 2 starts, but he certainly did last time over a wet track. Feels like a wet track could come into play again for this race on Saturday. Overall, I wasn't really sure how this pace would play out, Dan. The fast pace designation, I think it certainly could play out that way, but I didn't think it had to.
Let's watch Constitution Lawyer's maiden win. Course and distance. Mike mentioned it was a wet track. Maybe it was a wet track move up. This was his first race with Lasix. No Lasix for graded stakes races in New York. He won't be getting Lasix on Saturday. Constitution Lawyer in this race ran fast from start to finish. It was a solid pace. He had the favorite long-term, basically off the bridle after with a half mile left to go, and he was able to hold on. My concern is long-term might not be that good.
Yeah, that's very true, and I think it's something that's worth bringing up, Dan. Long-term did come back to race at Aqueduct earlier this week and was defeated at 2-5 without any excuse either. So it'll be interesting to see how good that race turns out to be. Here's the thing with Constitution Lawyer. Obviously, the 85 buyer he earned gives him an advantage on this field. I mean, it's several lengths faster than anybody else in this field has ever run, and he did it over this distance. So I think those are both positives. He's a horse who ran, I think, way better than it looks in his first 2 starts, even though he didn't win either time. So I don't think that improvement last time came out of nowhere. But you still have those questions with the wet track and the sort of easy lead last time over a pretty weak field. All those things sort of conspired to make me not really want to take too short a price on him in here. I do think he's a major player, though.
Number 2, Grantham, has done little wrong from 2 lifetime starts. He successfully stretched out around 2 turns in his most recent race, albeit over the Tapeta surface at Turfway Park. But this is a horse that's shown tactical speed. I think he has a lot of upside potential, and he goes out for a great trainer in Michael Maker. Best of all, the price will be right. This is a step up in class.
Yeah, it really is. And it'll be interesting to see how he handles it. If nothing else, it feels like he's just a bit of a wild card in here. I didn't love his debut. He did get beat by a pretty good horse, though. I think that Rocket Dog was pretty impressive winning that day. Maybe this horse just really wanted to stretch out, which he did effectively last time. It wasn't a fast race. It was on a different surface. But maybe the added distance just really helps this horse, and he will be a price in here if you like him.
Parks base to number 3, Smarten Up, won his maiden 2 starts back by 9, going 2 turns at Parks. And then he ran in the Jerome last time out, and he was beaten by Courvoisier. But I thought all in all was a good effort. He was kind of outrun a little bit early. It was a very fast pace, but he did come with a nice run. And to me, he just looks like the longer the better.
Yeah, I feel the same way about him. I thought he actually ran pretty well in the Jerome last time. I know he had some pace to run into, but being as far behind as he was early, he was actually last briefly up the backstretch. It felt like he took a lot of dirt in that race. And then once he got out into the clear through the stretch, I really liked the way that he finished in that race to get up for second. I know he only got a 59 buyer, Dan, when he broke his maiden 2-back. I'm not really buying into that figure at all. That was, to me, a really solid pace. He sat right on it, put that field away very easily through the stretch and won clear. I feel like this horse has run well in every one of his starts, and I don't really mind him stretching back out for this.
Let's not sleep on the number 4, Gilded Age, trained by Bill Mott. He was in against some real tough ones in his first 3 races. Subsequent stakes winners like Major General and Rattle and Roll, and Giant Game, who came out of his maiden win to finish 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Well, he got away from those horses last time out, Mike, going 2 turns at Churchill Downs. He rallied from out of it. He looked good in doing so. And I guess the reason Mott's here instead of the Holy Bull is distance, distance, distance.
It does feel like distance will play to this horse's advantage. You mentioned that he landed in some really tough spots to begin his career. The race 2-back at Keeneland when he was defeated by Giant Game. Boy, did he have an impossible trip that day. Hung out to dry from the outside post. Came back with a nice win last time. It didn't come back fast, but I like the way that he swept up on that field around the final turn. He pulled away from them late. I do feel like there's a lot of upside with this horse, and he might actually be a price in here.
Gilded Age has the bloodlines as well, a $600,000 son of Medaglia d'Oro out of Grade 1 stakes winner Angela Renee. You want pedigree? Look no further than our next runner, the number 5, Courvoisier, by Gainesway's Super Stallion Tappet, the Dam, winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Courvoisier beat Constitution Lawyer in a maiden race 2 starts back, then made his first start against winners in this race. Caught a wet track in the Jerome, but beat 4 of the same horses he's going to face on Saturday. And he was in a little bit of a dogfight here in the 3/16 pole, Mike, before edging away late. I like that he was able to stay close to a solid pace over this wet track.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I feel like he deserves a little bit of extra credit for that win last time because the pace was solid and he just sat right up on it. He finally fought his way to the lead at the 8th pole, and he's going to hold on at the end there. You see Smarten Up there coming with a good late run for second, but he was never getting to Courvoisier there. His win 2-back, I sort of feel the same way about it, Dan. It was more game than anything else, but it came over this distance. He got right up close to the pace. I think those are all positives for this horse, and he feels like he won't be the favorite in here.
The 6, Unbridled Bomber, we saw him getting up for 4th in between horses in the Jerome last time out. This is a horse I think is still learning with each and every start. I think that was a good learning experience last time in the Jerome. And give him a fast pace, he can come with a run. I can certainly see him spicing up these exotics at a price.
I don't disagree with you. I feel like this horse is getting better with every start that he makes. I liked his win over the 1-turn mile 2 starts back then. He just sat on the rail the entire way. He had to wait a little bit to get clear, but once he got there, he came with a really game finish to get up. Last time, I didn't think he ran poorly at all. He was never a serious threat to win that race, but I do think he took another step forward, and he's going to be a big price in here.
The 7, No Need to Worry, finished behind Smarten Up in a couple of races at Parks, but he's won his last 2 at big prices, including this race on January the 18th, going 1 mile and 7 yards. It was a wet track. He made this big sweeping move to get to the front, and he kept right on going. He just seems to be improving with each start. This is a big hike up the class ladder, but he's sharp.
Yeah, he is. He comes into this off of 2 fairly easy wins. They're not fast races, but he's just doing what he has to do to get the job done. It's a significant jump up in class for this race. He's also going to stretch out to 1 mile and 1/8 for the first time. So there's plenty working against this horse, but all he does is outrun his odds every time they send him out there.
Onojo is up next. This was a New York bred who started his career in Louisiana at Delta Downs, but he made his first start against fellow state breds in this race, the New York Stallion Series, going 7/8 of a mile. Take me through this trip a little bit, Mike, because you look at the trouble line, bumped 6.5, 3 wide, bumped late. Trevor McCarthy was able to save ground on the turn, got to the outside with a look at this.
Yeah, I thought McCarthy gave this horse a great ride in this race, and he had every chance to win. It feels like he's coming with the momentum here, Dan, inside the furlong grounds, and he just can't quite get by this horse on the lead. He settles for second. It was certainly a good performance. It wasn't the kind of race that, had me looking to bet him back in a race like this.
Fourth horse in that race did come back to graduate against New York breds, only a 69 buyer. Distance, a big question for Anojo. Early voting is the number 9, Son of Gun Runner, debut winner, and was no secret for the Chad Brown barn. Let's watch this effort. 1 turn mile, odds on, early voting, pushed the pace early, takes over, is on his way. The 4th place horse would come back to graduate on grass at Gulfstream with a 77 buyer speed figure. This was a solid race.
It really was. I would describe it just like that, Dan. It's a solid performance, a horse who took money. They expected him to run well in here. He did. I don't think it's the greatest field in the world. You can see him, sort of having to keep busy here at the end of the race to hold off Matt Doyle, who at the end of the day just isn't that good. But listen, this horse ran fine in there. He earned a 76 buyer. It feels like he has plenty of pedigree to handle this stretch out. And listen, it's not like he's landing in, the toughest race in the world. I mean, I do feel like this is a pretty good step up in class for him. There are some nice horses in here, but there are no killers. This horse could easily contend.
And number 10, Mr. Jefferson, moving on up into a graded stakes race yet again. He ran on the Remsen 2 starts back going this distance. I didn't think it was a bad effort. He made this wide bid at Mo Donegal, and then he flattened out on the stretch. And last time out in the Jerome, I think it was a case where he didn't care for that sloppy track.
Yeah, I sort of wondered if I could give him that excuse too last time, the wet track. He just was always off the pace. They moved him down to the rail very, very early in that race. Just kept trying to get into it, but could never make up any ground. I'm happy to give him the sloppy track excuse. I guess that could be a concern coming for this race on Saturday, Dan, because it feels like the track's going to be wet again, and that might not help him. But his Remsen was okay. When he broke his maiden around 2 turns, 3 starts back in November, I thought he ran well that day. I also thought he got a perfect trip to get it done.
I'm not willing to give up on the 11, Cooke Creek, just yet. Horse won his first 2 starts at Delaware Park. Then I thought was a fine second behind favored Rockefeller, Baffert trained runner, and the Nashua. That horse had the best of it on the lead. Cooke Creek kept trying for second. And last time out in the Jerome, over the wet track, he was close to the solid pace. He was on the outside. He ran okay. I'm looking forward to seeing him get around 2 turns again. I am concerned about this post position.
Yeah, I was concerned about that too. But all in all, I think this horse has run well in all 4 of his starts so far. He was the beaten favorite last time. It feels like he is not going to be the favorite this time. And I certainly feel like he has the credentials to be a major player in here. We'll see if he can pull a trip from that outside post.
Top pick time for the grade 3 Withers. Constitution lawyer might get a wet track again. He's got an inside post that can be considered advantageous, going 2 turns at Aqueduct. I think he's going to be close to the pace. I think he might be finding himself. But Mike, this pace is going to be fast, and Smarten Up has shown you give him a fast pace, he'll run late.
Yeah, I feel like he can do it either way. They could put him up close if they have to. If the pace gets faster, I think they could just sort of sit back and try one run. We'll see, Dan. I can't sit there and say that I love him in here, but I do think he has a legitimate chance to contend again. He's going to be a price in this race, and I just didn't really love the favorites. Maybe it'll play out that way with the shorter prices, just, sort of running 1-2 in here, but I thought there was more going on in this race.
314 for Mike, 195 for me. It's the grade 3 Withers. It's race 8 at Aqueduct, and our Withers Stakes coverage is presented by Gainesway.